It is one of the more baffling of Galadriel's gifts. It's not a weapon to be used against the evil foes like Legolas's bow. It's not a box of magical soil to help restore a land marked by war. Yet this gift would have a significance far greater than any mortal could imagine, and a history longer than any of the other gifts. Today on Nerd of the Rings, we cover Galadriel's gift of her hair to Gimli. The Fellowship of the Ring has had its greatest setback to date. They lost their guide, Gandalf the Grey, in a battle with the Balrog of Marya. Coming to Lórien, they would rest for a month as they regroup and prepare to continue on their great quest. Prior to their departure, the 8 heroes would be given gifts by the Lady Galadriel to aid them on their journey. Next to last, she approaches Gimli, asking him what gift a dwarf would ask of the elves. He initially responds that it is enough for him to have seen the Lady of the Galadrim and to have heard her gentle words. After remarking on his courtesy, she insists he will not be the only guest without a gift.
"There is nothing, Lady Galadriel,"
said Gimli, bowing low and stammering.
"Nothing, unless it is permitted to ask. Nay, to name a single strand of your hair, which surpasses the gold of the earth as the stars surpass the gems of the mine. I do not ask for such a gift, but you commanded me to name my desire."
In a sentence often overlooked, we are immediately told the elves stirred and murmured with astonishment, and Celeborn gazes at the dwarf in wonder. This small moment of shock for the elves would hint at a significance that readers would learn nothing more of until 1980's publication of Unfinished Tales, 27 years after the Fellowship of the Ring. In Unfinished Tales, we learn of the deep meaning behind Galadriel's hair, and why this request would be so astonishing. Here we find Galadriel during her early days living in Valinor. She grew to be tall beyond measure even of the women of the Noldor. She was strong of body, mind, and will, a match for both the lore masters and the athletes of the Eldar in the days of their youth. Even among the Eldar, she was accounted beautiful, and her hair was held a marvel unmatched. It was golden like the hair of her father and of her foremother Indis, but richer and more radiant, for its gold was touched by some memory of star-like silver of her mother. And the Eldar said the light of the 2 trees, Lórien and Telperion, had been snared in her tresses. This idea about the light of the 2 trees, which gave light to all of Valinor and whose significance cannot be overstated, reaches the ears of Feanor, the greatest smith of the elves to ever live. Feanor would go to his niece 3 times, begging for a tress of her hair, but Galadriel would not even give him 1 hair. Thus, these 2 kinsfolk, said to be the greatest of the Eldar in Valinor, were unfriends forever. While Feanor was perhaps greater than Galadriel, she was wiser, and her wisdom would only grow with the long years that came. She had a great gift of seeing into the minds of others, and she both hated and feared the darkness she saw in Feanor. While he would be refused by Galadriel 3 times, Feanor would go on to make his intended creations by other means. Going straight to the source, he captures light from the 2 trees within his 3 Silmarils. The Silmarils themselves would have a long history, bringing pain and ruin to elven kind, and in part lead to Feanor's death. But the life of Galadriel would go on for thousands of years to come, and ages later, one would request a single strand of her hair, just as Feanor once had. Adding to the insanity of this request is the fact that it comes from a dwarf, and the elves of Lórien have a history and heritage with dwarves, perhaps the most hostile of all. Galadriel and Celeborn would meet in the First Age in Doriath, where Celeborn's kinsman Thingol is king. This very realm would suffer greatly from an attack by dwarves of the Blue Mountains, who kill Thingol. After his wife Melian leaves for Valinor, this weakening of the realm would lead to its downfall. And we can see in future centuries that Celeborn would harbor a hatred of the dwarves. Despite being a different clan of the dwarves, he wishes to have nothing to do with the dwarves of Khazad-dûm, despite being a resident of Eregion, a realm with a great friendship with Durin's folk. But there is yet more reason the Elves of Lórien would not care for dwarves, and indeed it explains why Celeborn is not the only one to give Gimli a frosty reception. In 1980 of the Third Age, the dwarves awaken the Balrog in Khazad-dûm, forcing them to abandon the realm the following year. Due to this evil that befell the Black Pit of Moria, many Elves of Lórien would flee south, including their king, Amroth, and his betrothed, Nimrodel. They would become separated in their journey, and Amroth would drown in the Bay of Belfalas, and Nimrodel would never be seen again. Thus, both Sindar and Sylvan Elves of Lórien would carry grudges against the dwarven race, for the evil done in Doriath and the awakening of the great evil under Moria. Thus, the request of Gimli the dwarf is remarkably bold for many reasons, though Gimli is completely unaware of the greatest of these. In response, Galadriel asks what Gimli would do with such a gift, a single strand of her hair. He responds that he would treasure it in memory of her kind words at their first meeting, and he would set it in imperishable crystal to be an heirloom of his house and a pledge of goodwill between the mountain and the wood until the end of days. Galadriel then gives Gimli not one, but 3 golden hairs, the same number of times which Feanor asked for a hair and was refused. This wise and powerful ruler, capable of seeing into the minds of others, saw one worthy of such a gift, where the greatest of their kind was not. This makes the hair of Galadriel the gift with the longest history among all the Fellowship, for the light of Eärendil given to Frodo would have come sometime after the end of the First Age, and the Elfstone given to Aragorn finds its origin in the later First Age, in the Kingdom of Gondolin. Presumably after the ultimate victory over Sauron, Gimli would do just as he promised, setting the 3 strands in imperishable crystal, making it an heirloom of his house, and Galadriel's words at their parting would come true. Gimli's hands would flow with gold, and yet over him, gold would have no dominion. Thus, a humble dwarf would be blessed with and treasure a simple yet great gift, one that Galadriel knew not even the greatest of all the Noldor would have been worthy of. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube supporters who make this channel possible. Tom DeBombadil 19, Lissamy the Cinda, Rabbi Rob Thomas, Charles Leisure, CCDC Red Team, Joe Tepper, The Mighty Mim, Andrew Carlisle, Swirled Traveler, Matthew Jeffrey, Viking Lord, Alvin Einbert, Jeremy Daniel Derby, Madame Director, Leo Vittori, Sky Carcass, Slide Belts, Dane Ragnarsson, Berto Berg, Graham Derricott, The Dark-Haired One, Wyland, Z and N, Evely, Kia, Freya Firestar, Micah Wu, and Debbie. If you enjoyed the artwork in this video, check out the artists in the description to purchase prints of their great work for yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.